Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
All right, tonight I am joined by John Edwards, who's an artist from South Wales, who's using his talent to explore some of the most pressing issues that we face today. With a background in social sciences, finance and economics, John's unique perspective on mental health and societal challenges kind of resonates with over 40,000 TikTok followers, and his work in portraiture and in narrative paintings tackles subjects that impact all of us. You know, and he has a phrase, by the way, we're not meant to live. Is it love or live? I'm going to have to check that out in a second. We're not meant to live like this. Sparking conversations online. John, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I keep making the mistake of love and live. I don't know, John, is it love or live? Love, live.
Live it is.
Of
live
course
Thank
it
you
is.
for having me on.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. John, in relation to, I suppose, the societal issues, we'll get to that first. I suppose, what kind of inspired you to combine art and kind of social commentary at the same time?
Well, I think art has always done that, really. You know, if we think back to, you know, the Baroque and the Renaissance masters, take Caravaggio, for instance. Caravaggio put the people from the taverns and the brothels of Rome in religious paintings that hung in the palaces of cardinals. And he communicated much of the violence of the time, and he put them in modern clothes. That's a form of social commentary in a way, although he's using religious stories to demonstrate that social commentary. So I don't think it's anything new. But, you know, we all have, you know, a view of the world around us, and, you know, we communicate that best we can. And part of the way I like to communicate these things is through painting.
And can you explain, I suppose, the phrase that we talked about, we're not meant to love like this? Like, where did that kind of phrase come from, or what did you mean exactly by that?
Well, if we think about the pace of change just over the last 30 years, the environment around us, the technology we have, the way work has changed for people, that's been phenomenal. And then if you think a bit longer back, 200 years ago, to when we started to industrialize, and compare that to the 12,000 years that we were farming before that, and the 200,000 years where pretty much most of what we were doing was living in communities no larger than around 150, and we were hunter-gatherers. And we know that being in and around nature has positive effects on mental health. And we also know that if you're lonely, you have a 26% increased chance of early mortality, and you're more likely to get things like diabetes, heart disease, depression, and anxiety. And we're seeing increasing levels of loneliness, concerningly in young people, 16 to 24.
Why do you think that is? Do you think social media has a lot to do with that? Because many years ago, I suppose, when we were young, we went out, we found friends, we played out on the road, we went down to the local park, we played ball. Nowadays, they kind of isolate themselves, staring into a screen. Do you think that has had a huge impact on loneliness? Because although they might be talking to 100 people on Snapchat or whatever it is, or TikTok, you know, they're technically still on their own.
Yeah, there's definitely something in that, and I think that's part of the picture. But it's not the whole picture. I think in addition to that, you know, if you just we think on a practical level, you know, when I was a little boy, you know, I'm in my mid-30s now, but I was able to play out on the street. You think about the increasing cars on the roads, for example, and kids getting older before they start playing out on their own or going out on their own at all, just because of the sheer amount of traffic. There's been some attempts to address that in Wales with 20 mile per hour speed limits.
Oh, they done that. Yeah, they did that here too.
It
Yeah,
went down like a bucket of hot sick.
I know they did that here too. Yeah, it didn't work out. It hasn't worked out too well, unfortunately. But I suppose you've been quite popular on TikTok, by the way. How do you where do you attribute that success to? I mean, people just kind of gravitated to your TikTok page.
I don't know really. I think part of it is I'm articulating something that a lot of people feel.
Yeah,
You know, there's a deep longing out there for a connection to the land and a real deep longing for community.
Is that the kind of feedback you're getting on TikTok all the time? That you're getting that kind of feedback from people?
That's a lot of the comments are demonstrating that, and I think some people are really struggling with it, which is concerning, but unfortunately not surprising to me, because the data that's out there tells this story as well. I think some people were just relieved that somebody articulated it, because they hadn't before. And I compared it in one of my posts to the concept of hiraeth, which is a word in Welsh which describes that deep sense of longing for community and for home and for the land,
I mean, I don't know. How does your understanding of economics, by the way, because I know you have a good understanding of economics, how does that kind of shape your thoughts, and its effects on mental health and the inequalities, I suppose, and its effect on mental health?
Yeah, so I think what you've got to do is you've got to have a look at what has value. So for people to be mentally well, it helps if they're around nature, all beautiful things. Art has a similar impact, and so can music. It helps if they have community, and it helps if they can meet their basic needs. So food, water, shelter, housing, warmth, security, that kind of thing. And once those things are in place, as long as they've got people around them to support them and they feel that their lives have meaning, you prevent a lot of mental health problems from developing. The problem we've got is a large part of the environment doesn't facilitate those things very well anymore. Communities aren't as strong as they used to be. The world of work has changed. It's a lot more fluid. People will move around to different jobs, whereas, years ago you'd turn up to the union and you'd say, I want to be a printer, and they'd get you a job as a printer's apprentice, and that was it. And you got to know people in that community. People also used to work where they lived. That doesn't happen so much anymore either. So a lot has changed, and we haven't really adapted to it yet.
And by the way, just on a side note, has your popularity on TikTok, has that helped your art? People to get to see your art, I suppose.
No, not really.
Right, okay. I thought there might have been some takeaway from all of this. You know what I mean?
No. I think the way that the sort of app works is it shows people those videos, but doesn't necessarily show them all my videos.
Yeah.
So I don't, to be honest, I don't really understand how any of it works.
Yeah. Social media is a minefield, by the way. Yeah. But I suppose just finally, what message do you hope people take away from everything that you do? What's the message? If you're advising young people out there or whatever, what's the kind of takeaway message from all this?
Well, I think the first thing that people need to do is they need to be aware that getting out into nature and appreciating beautiful things and having a sense of community is good for their health. Like they should know that eating fruit and vegetables and doing exercise is also good for their health. That's the first thing, because I think sometimes people just aren't consciously always aware of that. And then the second thing, it's, to figure out something that you can do well, that you can do beautifully. So hobbies, sports, that kind of thing, and just make an effort. And, it can be a bit awkward at first. It's a bit like getting in the sea, but once you're in, it's all right. So that would be my advice. Be aware of it, be mindful of it, understand that it's harder to do that than it used to be, but try and get out there, try and find things that you're interested in where you can engage with other people.
Okay, well, look, if people want to go to your TikTok account, what's your TikTok account again? Sorry, what's the name of your TikTok account again? Because I didn't have it on my note here. Sorry, I do apologise. What's the...
J.R. Edwards Art.
J.R. Edwards Art. You can go to your TikTok account and check it out. Very interesting stuff. Listen, thank you very much indeed, John. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.